Happy Wednesday night and welcome to A Look on the Plus Side. Thank you guys so much for coming and spending your Wednesday night with us. We appreciate you. If you have not already, please like this video as it helps people to find us, and also please subscribe to this channel. It's a new channel. It's called the Park Adventurers Club, and at the end we'll tell you how you can help support the channel and what other programming we've got coming up for you very soon. But tonight we are talking about not a mouse, but a rat. Tonight we are talking about Pixar's Ratatouille. And to talk about Ratatouille, I brought in this lady. It's Shannon. How are ya?
I am great. Bonjour, everyone. Thank you for joining.
That's more French than you hear in this whole movie. That's crazy. That's awesome that you would use French. We're gonna talk about so many things tonight. But again, thank you, Shannon, for being here and for I feel like you picked this movie, didn't you?
Yeah, you know why? Because I had some friends in my kitchen recently, and I was just inspired about rats in the kitchen. Why not talk about them some more?
Wait a minute. Are you saying your friends are rats?
I don't know if I want to admit that, but yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, anyone can cook. I don't know if you heard about that or not, but so this is Disney Pixar's Ratatouille. It came out in 2007. How weird is it to think about the fact that this movie is almost 20 years old?
Yeah, I was shocked. I had to go back and Google it today when I was rewatching it. And
Yeah.
because the graphics, when I first started looking at it, I'm like, this looks maybe a little old. And I looked at it and I'm like, it is. It's old.
You mean you're talking about like the animation you felt like looked a little bit old?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So I honestly, again, like it feels like just yesterday to me, but like life whizzes by. And so I don't know. It's just kind of crazy to think that 2007 was when this movie came out. It is rated G. It is an hour and 51 minutes. I didn't look it up, but I bet this has got to be one of Pixar's longer movies at an hour and 51 minutes. And then it was also an Oscar winner. So, I mean, there's some good things there. One of the things that stands out to me, too, is my favorite. What's your favorite Pixar movie?
Oh my gosh. How do you just put me on the spot like that? But I
I thought
think
it
I
would
have to
be
go.
top of mind. Okay, I'll tell you mine. Mine is The Incredibles, which I think is a
Oh,
hot
that's probably
take.
my least favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's probably a hot take. Same director, though. Brad Bird was the director of The Incredibles and then also the director of Ratatouille, which it's interesting to me that both of them open up with sort of like a black screen with a TV on it, kind of giving you context. The Incredibles, the last thing that Elastigirl goes, I don't think so. I don't think so. And then it fades into the rest of the movie. Like, I will never forget that for some reason. And so when this started up with the movie, or the TV on the screen, I was like, wait a minute, this is a Brad Bird thing? Kind of like Walt opening the book, but this is like how he does things. If
Oh.
have I stalled enough for you? Do you have an answer?
Okay, well, it's going to be a tie between Toy Story 2, Monsters Inc., and Monsters University.
Okay. So you're not going to separate those Toy Story and Monsters, but only to number two. So like Toy Story 3 through 5 exempt.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
didn't make the top 10.
Unreal. Okay. So, you know what? Honestly, again, it's been a while since I've seen this one. I feel like it's not because there's the ride at Epcot, which we'll talk about
Hmm.
at the end. There's projections and things that they show in the parks. And obviously, Remy is somehow the food and wine mascot on top of everything else. So I feel like I've seen it more recently. But I do think it's been a while because there was a lot of stuff that I kind of forgot. So I'm glad we got to go back in and do this. Like I mentioned, when you're watching the movie, the first thing that they open up with is that whole TV, like, it's a way to bring context to the story and tell you about Gusteau and kind of his history. And then we move on to the house and we meet Remy and kind of start to see things from that point of view. But there's this really weird series of events. And I don't know if this hit you weird when you were watching it or not, where it's like, okay, we're getting the set of Gusteau. I don't know why
Hmm.
I'm trying to say Gaston, I guess. We're getting the set of him with this sort of this again, this kind of like TV trope. And then we go to the house and you see Remy escape, and then he's like, let me take you back. And it's like we're all over the place. We're like learning history, but then we're starting at the middle, and then we go back a little bit. I don't know. Did that throw you, or were you like, nah, this is all good. It all makes sense.
No, I was more focused on the fact that it was so unrealistic. Like a little old lady living in her French cottage in the countryside wouldn't just be whipping out a shotgun and blowing holes in her ceiling. So I was too distracted by that not being a realistic scenario if you actually had rats in your house.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I gotta say though, you were just talking about the animation looking a little old.
Mhm.
There were times where I looked at it where I thought this actually looks pretty good. Like I feel like that's a pretty good piece of animation with the rain and the pan down and the house with like just the different feels and the vibes. You don't think so? You think it looks dated?
It's not the worst, but there were times when you're looking at something like, hey, that could be a little sharper.
Yeah. I mean, I will kind of come at them for their choice of font here, I guess, a little bit. I don't know that one. It looks a little pedestrian, but that's fine. It's kind of like the papyrus of Avatar. But you know, like I said, when they come out of the gate, they come out with this whole like, you know, here I am, but let's go back a little bit, you know. So I'm like trying to.
Wait. Can we just talk about Remy's super strength in that moment too? Another realistic thing that's hard for me to comprehend. He's just
You're going to be all about the rules
jettisoning
tonight. I
out.
love this.
I mean, he's a normal rat, and then all of a sudden he gets superhuman strength and carries a book and shoots himself out of a window.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
I don't know where they lost you. It make perfect sense to me. Yeah, I don't know. It's Patrick always gets on me for like, oh, you and your rules. But I mean, yeah, you have to have rules. It has to sort of make sense. Like if you had established like, hey, this is a superhuman rat who had been tested on and now he has like super soldier serum and all that. You're like, okay, yeah, sure. He has great taste buds. He's smart. You know, he can manipulate Luigi with his, or Linguini. I said Luigi. Linguini with the hair. That's the part that gets me, but we'll talk about that obviously in a minute. Interesting about the whole like he's like this he's an executive taster here, and apparently that's a thing. There are people like I think it's like a quarter of the country is like has like an advanced palate like this, or of the world has an advanced palate like this. I don't think that's me. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, I like
probably
a
not me
McDonald's
either.
cheeseburger, and you and I have talked very much about we have very different Disney World experiences when you're out there at like, you know, Victoria and Alberts and I'm down at Docking Bay
I've
7.
never been there.
In your head you
It's
have.
still
I
on
know
the
you have.
bucket list.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Um but basically, you know, he's not your ordinary rat, and he's explaining how he's different from his family, and his family just eats garbage, but not him. It's not, you know, he wants more out of life, and he can also read. Does that bother you at all, or are you good with that? Because also, he seems to be able to read. I don't know. I mean, is that a problem?
No, but you know what is a problem? How did they get to France? Because to me, it's pretty apparent that Remy's father is a New Yorker. He is a New York rat. Did anyone else pick up on that? And so is the big guy we'll get later on in the movie, the tagged rat, if you know what I'm talking.
Yep.
He's
Yep.
definitely,
Yep.
you know.
All right, so let's talk about that, because let's just talk about the accents. I feel like in 2025 we're all about making sure that everything is done correctly. There's a trope with languages sometimes where somebody will speak in like a native language and they kind of zoom in on them, and then they'll like zoom back out and they speak in English as if we're supposed to understand that like this is how they really talk, but because you guys are idiots, we're going to let them talk like this. But at least they have some kind of a like an accent or whatever. This one, the accents are all over the place. If you like you said, like Patton Oswalt as Remy's accent versus his dad's accent versus Emil's accent, they're all from the same family. They all have completely different accents. None of them match each other. Linguini from France, complete. There's no.
Italian name.
Yeah, an Italian name and no accent whatsoever. And then, you know, everyone else in the kitchen is talking in English, but with like a hard French accent, except for like Anton Ego is like, he's British. And so it's like, what are we doing?
I couldn't understand the chefs, honestly. I almost thought about putting on closed captioning because the French accents were a little too thick for me to understand what they were saying.
Ronald says Remy stowed away on a ship from New York to Paris. So there you go.
Sounds right.
Could have been. Could have been. Um, yeah. So it is kind of all over the place with the accents and also the fact that they chose people. Is it offensive that they choose like Brad Garrett and Will Arnett and Janine Garofalo and have them look like this? Like, is that offensive?
You're asking the wrong person. I have no idea.
I mean, there.
Uh,
I guess I was thinking that there's that scene where and I'm kind of jumping in, but where Skinner, who has like, so we learn through context that Chef Cousteau has died. Remy takes the news very hard. We don't know if this is like a recorded thing or if it just happened recently, but that Chef Cousteau had died. And so he had lost 1 star because of the food critics' horrible review, and then he lost another star, as is tradition when a chef dies. And so a 5-star restaurant's gone down to a 3. And so then when we get to the restaurant, we learn that like the sous chef has become the main chef and Skinner, and he's basically just mutilating the legacy of Gusteau with like frozen food cutouts and trying to take over the entire industry and just basically just squeeze all the money out of him that he can. But when they do that, there's all of those cutouts of
yeah,
Gusteau in the different
I love them.
the cowboy and in the Chinese out, like all of that, like, and I'm just like, wait a minute. And then Brad Garrett as Gusteau does all those accents.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Are we okay with that?
Rob, it was 2007. It was still the Wild West back
It was
then.
a different time. It was a different time. I don't know. I just it's very interesting to me the accents and then the weird, like, is it okay that, like, I feel like if you did this in 2025 we would be upset if it wasn't like Gerard Depardieu and is he still alive? I don't even remember. But like all of these, like it would have to be actual French actors. I feel like. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's a lot of
No,
fun
but
to think of. Let's.
something I do like is the node to like using the high end French oven or stove brand. I think it's La Cornue, if I'm not mistaken. But the detail of that, and another little detail, kind of irrelevant, is the burn marks on the chef's hands. I love that the animators included that. I thought that was so cute when we're thinking about that opening scene,
Okay.
kind of opening scene.
Let's talk about the cast now that I'm talking about the cast. Brad Garrett is Gusteau, Ray's older brother from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in a ton of other things as well, including Finding Nemo. Patton Oswalt is Remy, and I will always associate him with Remy. I feel like that's his biggest role to date, isn't it? Can you name a bigger Patton
Really?
Oswalt role? Name something bigger that
Yeah.
he's done.
What was the TV show where
AP
he was the
Bio?
FedEx? No, where he
Don't
wasn't he
even say
friends
you
with
think
the?
he's Kevin James.
No, no, but he was in that show. What was
Oh,
that show
was he
called?
King of Queens?
Yeah, yeah, King of Queens. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure he was in that.
okay.
I gotta
I
Google it now.
That's fine. But I feel like this was kind of one. I mean, he was a known stand up for so long, and then he's been in a ton of things. He was in Agents of Shield. He was in,
Yeah, he was in King of
many
Queens. Come on now, Rob.
many things. No, I still think Remy is probably, to me, or at least in my world, the biggest thing he's ever done. Um, and then Brian Dennehy is Django. Peter O'Toole is Anton Ego. And I swear the very first time I heard Anton Ego, the food critic, I thought it was Patrick Stewart. I don't know why, but he was given, maybe just I'm British
I'm
skewed. I don't know.
terrible with picking up actors, and
Oh, I
when I
love,
looked up who voiced Remy, Patton Oswalt was not even a thought in my mind.
really.
So
Uh,
yeah, I guess I don't have that palate or that ear.
That's a thing that I'm always, as soon as I hear a voice, I'm always trying to figure out like who is that if I don't already know going into it. Will Arnett as Horst, that one I picked up on pretty quickly. Janine Garofalo as Colette, I don't think I picked up on that one as quickly because I think she does a good job of sounding French, I guess. Also doesn't strike me as something Janine Garofalo would have done. Brad Bird is in this one. And John Ratzenberger, who was Pixar's, golden child, he's in it. But that's kind of about it. But Peter Sohn plays Emil.
Yeah.
The reason that I find that interesting is he is a director for Pixar, but he voices so many things when it comes, like he directed Elemental. But he's a voice in so many of the things that they do.
Doesn't he Russell in Up?
No, I'm familiar with that. I don't think he is. No, I think that was actually a kid. He was Squishy in Monsters University that you and I reviewed.
Oh, I love Squishy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was Squishy in that one. He was Socks the cat in Lightyear.
Mm-hmm.
And he was Emil in Ratatouille, and he's been in some other things in small roles, but those are his bigger ones. But I do think it's interesting that he's such, it's probably one of those things where they're like, we're storyboarding this and we start doing the voice, and it's like, you know what, you sound like Emil. Let's just go with you. Let's just have you be Emil for the rest of time, and how that works.
I love Emil. I think he's one of my favorite characters, honestly. He's an emotional eater. He's a people pleaser. He likes the safety of his home.
You're like, you relate to him. You feel like a kinship with him. I do not like Emil, and here's why. It's because he's getting.
Oh, no.
I don't like the guy that gets the main character in trouble, and he's constantly getting Emil. He's constantly getting Remy in trouble.
Well,
he brings the boys. He's
beginning.
like, when you said keep this a secret, that you have access to a kitchen, I didn't think you meant these guys. And then he brings
Wait
more.
a
And he's like,
second.
sorry, I brought these more. And then he's like trying to save Emil from like getting caught, and he gets caught. Like he's the troublemaker.
No, Remy almost got Emil blown to bits in the old lady's house. Come on. He was just, you know what? I think he got a little too comfortable with Remy and was trying to get back at him.
You think?
He didn't want to be in
don't.
that kitchen, Rob.
Okay, that's fine. All right. So obviously, again, the cast. I think that's a pretty stellar cast for 2007. I think that was a good group of folks to have, and probably a bigger cast than you have in most of the Pixar movies. I would feel like, I think most of the Pixar movies have a couple of big names, and the rest of them are sort of in the background. Not that Will Arnett's the biggest name, but he is definitely a big name in voice work. And then Brian Dennehy, Peter O'Toole, Patton Oswalt, Brad Garrett, Janine Garofalo. I think that's a pretty solid cast, and as I said, directed by and written by Brad Bird, amongst others. So, I think all that was pretty cool. It opened June 29th, 2007, and was rated G, if you needed to have that information. So one of the things that happens is after the big shootout in the old lady's house, they all scramble to the boats. They had an escape plan.
They did. They did.
That seemed random, very random to me. Like they have.
I don't
they've somehow...
know.
Okay.
I mean, considering I had friends in my kitchen, I would imagine that whoever was living in there had an escape plan when I came in to shoo them out.
Gotcha.
They can't be comfortable.
So we use the setting of the old lady's house to establish that that Remy can read, that he likes to cook, that he has a big family. We're learning all about that, and then in this big kerfuffle, all of the rats scatter and head to the boats and swim downstream. And because Remy's not, I guess he's falling behind. He's not willing to give up the cookbook that he's gotten. He's racing to meet up with them. Takes a wrong left turn at Albuquerque, as Bugs Bunny would have said, and he ends up somewhere other than where they are. And then he starts to hallucinate about Chef Cousteau. talking to him through the book, which is kind of weird, but I guess it's a movie about a rat that can cook, so all rules are off. So they, he's again in talking to Gusteau, it's more exposition, more explaining the situation and what's happening, and the figment of his imagination, which he keeps saying, which keeps making me think of Figment, tells him that he's supposed to go and take a look up above, and then he realizes he's in Paris. He realizes he's right near Gusteau's, and then he goes and he looks in. At the same time, then now Linguini has been introduced. He comes into the kitchen of Gusteau's because he needs a job. He gives him a letter from his mom. He gets hired as a trash guy. And then he ends up messing up this pot of soup that Remy sees and freaks out about. And it's just like, that moment is so weird to me because he's knocked the soup over, but it hasn't all spilled out. So he puts it back, and then he randomly keeps throwing things in it, pouring water in it. And then he tries it, and he like almost throws up because it's so bad. And then Remy like smells it, and it's so bad that he almost throws up. And yet they throw like some cloves and and a couple other things in it, and now it's the best soup that anyone has ever tasted. I don't know how things work in your kitchen. Like you said, you have people in your kitchen, you're in there cooking. If you mess something up to the point where it is vile, how do you throw
there's no coming back from it?
Right. How do you throw basil in that and it's like, perfection. I know people. I'm getting very in the weeds with this, but I just was like, really? No. Like it's making them physically sick. And then they do something to it, and they're like, that's the one. That's the one that's changing the world. Anyway, so
isn't that like the number one rule of cooking? You can always add, but you can never take out, right?
I don't know.
You put too much salt, you're done.
Anyone can cook, but I do not. Okay. I can make an omelet.
Same.
So. Anyway, what we don't find out until later is that Chef Gusteau, that Linguini
is that a wishable?
Yeah, it is. Linguini is his son, which you can see the family resemblance, right? Anyway, I love the pants too. By the way, like
I love the pants.
Yeah, they're pretty nice there. And so now there's a like sort of like a subplot where Skinner, the sous chef who is now taking over, is just, it seems like this is every story. There's a ticking clock. This like Linguini 2 years into this like 2-year window shows up like weeks before the final bell is going to ring and everything's going to be done. And it's like, he shows up now. And so, but his mom wrote him a note and said, hey, can you hire him? He's Gusteau's son. And he didn't realize that when somebody hired him to be a trash boy. And then he makes this amazing soup, which he didn't really make because Remy did. And it goes out to the food critic. And now they have to keep him because he made this amazing soup. But Skinner also says, I'm going to come back and I'm going to watch you make this soup. And he doesn't. Why doesn't he?
Can't do it.
Okay. He does, but he's like, I'm going to watch you make the soup. And then when he comes back, he's like, you have a week. Make the soup. Make it. I'll give you a week. So he's not really watching him make the soup. Although I do love the bit about how short Skinner is and that he like has this pop stool that he drops into place. There are some outtakes under the extras. If you go and watch this on Disney Plus, there are some extras that have him. I
didn't know that.
Well, that's why you come to the show, Shannon, so we can teach you things like that. And they make a bigger deal, I think, of the like him being short, and like having his little stool in the kitchen and all that stuff. So I don't know. I think that's a neat bit. Why? I don't know. I just think it's funny. Just him like walking around and popping the little stool out. So he makes the soup and it's a big hit, but then he really can't make the soup, but then they find the rat, but then he has to go kill the rat, but then he reasons with the rat, and then they're best friends and they go live together and they learn to cook. It's great. The thing that happens is that Remy realizes when Linguini tries to sneak him back into the kitchen so he can teach him, he has no idea where to put him, and he's doing this and he's doing this, and then he opens his pants, and there's that scene where Remy kind of looks up like, really, like you're gonna do that, which felt super awkward. Did that?
Very awkward. There were a few awkward moments, but yeah, that was definitely one of them.
Tell me another one. Tell me another one you thought was awkward. No. Okay. All right.
I feel like it's not. Because I was like, am I overthinking this, or is this inappropriate for a children's movie? I didn't want to share it on here.
Yeah. Well, it's just like he's trying to find a place to put him, and then he goes, and then
no, Rob, no, so uncomfortable.
Just that look that Remy gives him, just like, and so I don't know what their plan is. His plan is just to bring him in, I guess, but you know, it's weird. It's definitely weird.
I mean, it's the whole theme of the movie. None of it makes sense.
Yeah. You know, you were talking about the animation, and I think in general, to me, the animation looked good. The out of focus, and like the near and the far, the quality of it in general. But Skinner does look wrong. Like looks very plastic.
But but I feel like that's part. I feel like they're trying to make him more of a caricature.
By the way, Skinner, Edna Mode.
No, I love Edna. Even though I don't like The Incredibles, I love Edna.
I don't know why you hate America so much that you hate The Incredibles.
Yeah. You know what else I hate? Linguini and Colette's love affair.
It doesn't make sense, does it?
Does she seem like she's much older than him too?
Not necessarily, because he's had a lot of jobs already. He's taken out trash in a bunch of different places. So he's
not that there's anything wrong with
right, but he's had a lot of jobs already, and so I don't think that the age difference ever bothered me, but I think that they definitely are very different people in the fact that she's very she's very like regimented and by the book,
serious,
and he's a goofball. He's clearly Italian American, and she's clearly American French, and so I don't know how they're gonna make it all work in the end. But yeah, it seems unnecessary, doesn't it? It seems like it's not a necessary part of the whole thing, except when the fact that she is the only one who comes back. She's the only one that believes in him enough to come back.
Well, it's funny you said that about believing, because I feel like there was this underlying story within the story of characters believing in each other or believing in themselves. So I feel like Remy's dad doesn't believe in Remy. Remy doesn't believe in Colette's ability to be a good chef. And Linguini doesn't believe in himself, right? And so I feel like this is just one deeper subplot in the movie that I came to really appreciate.
Well, and there's Remy starts to get a lot of confidence, and so does Linguini, but then they kind of start to butt heads when they both have too much confidence. Mm-hmm. Linguini is like top of his game. He's loving how life is going. He's got a girl. He gets the restaurant. All of these things happen. And, Remy's like, but I'm the one that cooked, and I'm the one that did this. And that becomes friction between them. And then Linguini tries to fix it, and then realizes that that Remy has done him dirty at that point and brought the whole family in to steal. That's an interesting subplot. They bring that up a lot. Mm-hmm. The whole we don't steal. Like it's a thing that comes up, and now that I'm just thinking about it now, it comes up so much that in the beginning it's Remy saying we don't steal, and Emile and his dad are going, well, it's not stealing if nobody wants it. And he's like, then why are we stealing it? And he's like, we're not stealing. Like it's this kind of back and forth thing about, the stealing. And then it happens with Linguini and Remy. And he's like, little chef, you don't need to steal. We don't do that because he stole the basil from like the porch. And he's like, I can buy stuff. We don't need to steal things. And then it comes up a lot. It just any thoughts on why that would be? Or, I mean, is that the lesson we're supposed to take away from this, or is it supposed to be anyone can cook? I'm getting mixed messages. Which is the right answer?
Yeah, that I when you said it, yes, it has been mentioned a lot during the movie, but I'm not picking anything up on that.
I want to wait till the end to talk about the ride that they have
Hmm.
at in France and at Epcot. But when you see things like this, did it just give you the
Hmm.
vibes of the ride when you see like the freezer and
Yeah, and
yeah,
the whole scene when he's scurrying under in the kitchen, that whole
yeah,
scene felt like the ride to me.
yeah, no, for sure, and it was just I like the music and like I almost associate like I almost have more memory and like association with the ride than I do the movie, honestly. Um, Also, this seems like a bad idea. Working with a hot plate and being like, why do you go straight to the blindfold? I don't know. I love this scene where he's like, no, 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 no,
Yeah,
put
don't
that,
look.
yeah, no, 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 don't look. This is them working it out. This is their like Rocky montage of like the training montage, and it's definitely good that this happens so that they can explain a little bit more why he's able to do the things he does. But have you ever just pulled on your hair and then the left arm goes up? I mean, have you done that before?
No, but sometimes, it does strike a nerve and you twitch a little, right? I have long hair. I feel like Rob, you wouldn't be able to relate. You don't have long hair.
I don't. You're right.
I don't
It
know.
is. Yeah, it's definitely interesting how that works. But they work it out and they figure it out. And but I mean, he's training him with a blindfold on, and they're hot plates and knives, and it's a lot of danger. It's a lot of danger, I think.
Yes.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, again, this thing's happening.
Love it. I
Yeah,
don't get
haggis.
why it's chopped sake though. What is
I
chopped
don't
sake?
I don't know. It's to be as as offensive as possible. Maybe I don't know. I think like chop suey, I guess, but chop sake, I have no idea. The haggis bites with the Scottish guy behind him and the burritos.
No, my
I don't
favorite
know.
is toothpick and chicken. That was one of them.
Yeah, the one that's like basically Colonel Sanders. You mean?
Yes.
Yeah, and then the barbecue dipping ribs. I feel like, speaking of which, did Disney miss an opportunity to make money by selling these meals or a Gusteau cookbook? Like they sell a book, but it's like a journal for you to like
Oh
make your
yeah.
own cook.
No, I think it was another missed opportunity, kind of like Tiana's, where you could have made the restaurant. And I know that they did in Disneyland Paris, but we don't have that in Epcot. Like they put a generic crepe shop. Why not make the restaurant, or would that take away from the theming of the ride? I'm not sure.
Well, again, we'll
The
talk about that at the end because I don't disagree with you. I like when she's training him and she squeezes the bread and you can hear that crunch.
Yes, yeah.
That
I
specific moment.
salivate.
Yeah, that makes me think of French bread, like to the point where like I can almost taste it when you hear
Yeah.
that crunch, and it's so good. The sound I think is really well done in this. Not just Michael, I always mispronounce his name. I think it's Giacchino, who did the music for Incredibles. Also did the music for this, which the music is infectious. I love that
Hmm.
it's like a modern take on like an older classic French sound. Um, but the sound in general of when he's like washed away and you hear the garble like you're there. When Remy's washed away down the drain and when you hear
When
that
he goes
bread
up the
and
pipe, my favorite scene is when he discovers that he's in Paris for the first time, and as he's emerging from the sewer up to the outside in the building, the music changes, and I think that was so well done. It becomes like more beautiful once he actually is outside and seeing Paris for the first time.
Yeah, that is an iconic scene, if we may, of him on the rooftop looking over Paris. Very cool.
Precious.
Yep. Um, Okay, so let's take a pause here, and again, I want to thank you guys so much for being with us tonight and hanging out with us. It's a lot of fun to talk about this one. I want to kind of get into the meat of it as we get to the end of it here, and then talk about the attraction and some of the things that it is inspired. But before we do that, again, if you have not already, give us a thumbs up. Give us a like, because it helps people to find us, and Shannon knows what that means. When we get to this point, it usually means that I'm about to break out trivia. And
Yeah.
again, I see, just I'm looking at the chat, and thank you guys for being here, Care Bear and Fire Chief and Jay Ware and Mrs. Fire Chief and Ronald, and I don't see Rosita necessarily in the chat here. I see Alicia, but I know that Rosita and Dawn, thank you for being here. I feel like Rosita insists that we have trivia now, so this is really, I can't.
I'm
not
nervous.
Do it. I can't not do it, so I have to ask you some trivia questions. And if you guys are hanging out and it's like play along at home, these are not things that are like specifically trivia. These are things that as I'm watching the movie, I see them, I take note of them, and then I subject Shannon to these things and ask her these questions. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
What is his first name?
Oh my God, I have no idea.
You have no idea.
Chef.
Yes, chef.
don't.
Yes, chef. What is his last name?
Oh, well, Gusteau, obviously.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought you were going to ask me how he lost his 2 stars. I was so ready for that, but then you talked about it already.
Yeah, I did. Sorry. It is Auguste Gusteau, and it could be Auguste, but it's Auguste, but it's Auguste Gusteau. Yeah. I heard that name and I thought I would not have been able to think of that. That's obviously
Nope.
something I'm going to ask Shannon
Great.
now.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh, man.
All right. The next one. This one should be pretty easy.
Okay.
In the little movie that we were talking about at the beginning, where we're learning about like the fall of Gusteau and the House of Gusteau and all of the things that happen, they introduce Anton Ego, this vicious food critic. When they introduce him, he has a nickname listed on the TV.
Oh, no. I don't know it. These are so hard, Rob.
I'm sorry. I didn't think they were. I thought it was funny when I saw it, and I thought, oh, she'll probably know this.
I know what he compared Chef Gusteau to.
What?
Chef Boyardee.
Ah, yeah, Monsieur Chef Boyardee.
The Grim Eater. Oh, okay.
The
Yeah,
Grim Eater,
I remember
which
seeing
actually
that.
fits. If you look at him, like that's. I mean, it's like he looks like the Grim Reaper. So I feel like that one kind of fits a little bit, right?
Man, I'm failing tonight.
Ronald says my memory sucks when it comes to trivia, and
Me too.
it was really funny because when Maleko did trivia last week with Moana, he was like, "This is really pathetic because you're asking me questions about a movie I literally watched 12 hours ago."
I know. That's my problem. I just watched it 10 minutes before we came on air.
No. You know what? And every now and then Stephanie, when she's on, will like reverse the role on me and ask me something, and I usually don't know. So I mean, I just think it's fun. Sometimes you do. Like Stephanie sometimes just comes to play and just kills it. But then there's other times. Linguini, he has a bike. What color is that bike?
Red.
That is correct. Look at you.
Hey.
Boom. You knew it. Yeah. Anton, in most of the scenes we see him in, has a scarf. What color is his scarf? I literally just showed you a picture. I literally just showed you a picture of him in that scarf.
Is it black?
It is not.
Blue?
You're getting warmer.
Green.
It is purple. You can't really tell, I guess, from there, but it is purple.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Sorry, I was like, I'm gonna show her this picture of him with the Grim Eater. She's gonna
Meatball.
see it, and then when I ask the question, she'll be like, "Ah, I got this." The
No.
the place where it stands out to me is when he walks in and issues his ultimatum to Linguini and says, "I'm coming tomorrow. I just wanted to give you a heads up and let you know I'm coming for you." And he's
All right, I have
wearing
a
that.
question.
Yeah,
What dessert are Remy and Emile eating in the very beginning of the movie?
creme brulee.
No, a Napoleon.
Oh, it's a Napoleon. I don't know that they
Yeah.
called it the Napoleon. I know what it looked like, but yeah.
The white with the chocolate swirlies.
There you go. There, see what I'm saying. Like this is what I'm talking about. Turnabout is not fair play. Um, all right. Okay. Um, ooh, that one's probably too hard.
Go
Um,
for it.
the health inspector who comes in, they show his identification on the wall
Oh,
as they look
no.
back and forth to the health inspector to the wall to the health inspector to the wall. First of all, the card about the health inspector has his picture on it, which is weird, and it's written in English, which is weird. But it says he is the health inspector of what district? What number district? I'll give you a
Oh,
hint. It is
no.
0 through 10.
7?
5.
I
That's why I
was,
said
that was my
it.
second guess. It almost came out of my mouth.
District 5. All right, this is the last one.
Okay.
This is going to be super easy. You ready?
Yep.
What is Linguini's mom's name?
I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this correctly, but like Renaud,
Renata.
Renata.
There you go. You did do it. Like, you got the red. You
All
got that.
right. All
Yeah, you were
right.
2 away from the
It's not
district
my best
number.
performance.
Yeah, I mean, come on. That's not bad. That's pretty good.
Not
I
bad. Not
appreciate
bad.
you taking the time and doing that.
Yeah.
Ronald guessed 8. Red, Alicia said. So yeah, people playing along. Trivia is hard tonight, said Fire Chief 66.
Yeah, it is.
It's yeah, it is. Sorry, folks. Sorry. The moose outside should have told you. It's going to be hard tonight. So let's go back to this movie. Again, I've really tried not to necessarily run through the entire storyline, but we get the gist of it. Is that basically this rat likes to cook. He finds a guy who he happens to be able to control by pulling his hair, who is not able to cook. And with this magical power, the two of them combine to be a master chef and to foil this evil plot of this sous chef Skinner, who has decided he is going to drain Gusteau's empire for all it's worth and run his name into the ground and all that kind of stuff. And he also is like seeing this rat, but like not all the time. And so he thinks he's going crazy. His lawyer thinks he's going crazy. He does indeed go over the edge, over the top with this whole thing. When they're in the restaurant and Anton, who is the food critic, has come to pass judgment on this restaurant that has been like this thorn in his side. He's like, I had the last word on this. I put the nail in the coffin. I shut that place down, basically. Why is it coming back? Let me go and give this another try. He goes there to have this meal, to issue this challenge, and Skinner's there with him. And he's the part that I will never forget is the part where he says, "What would you like?" And he says, "I would like some perspective." Do you have perspective? Are you all out of perspective? I'll tell you what. You supply the food, I'll supply the perspective. Brilliant. Like freaking brilliant. Like I love that angle on it. And that character is like, he's kind of the villain, but he's also kind of not. Like Skinner's kind of the villain more than he is. But he's so good. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to get to the end of the movie, but the end when he's reading his review out loud. Honestly,
No,
like that was a moment where this went from like a kid's movie to tugging at the heartstrings.
But I have thoughts on that speech as well. But yes, this was kind of the lead up to that for me, is that. So as he's sitting there and he's waiting for the order, and he's like, perhaps a 41 would go great with that perspective. As he's sitting there and waiting for his food, and then Skinner says, I'll have what he's having. Are they ripping off When Harry Met Sally? Is that like a specific ripoff, or are we just to understand that he wants to taste the same thing?
I never saw When Harry Met Sally. I
I'm
know,
sorry,
I know.
what?
Yeah.
That scene is so
Billy
iconic. I
Crystal.
don't know how you haven't like accidentally lucked into that, but that's fine. Yeah. So anyway, they go back into the kitchen, and Linguini has been given this speech about how great everything's going to be, but he's lost Remy, and he doesn't know that he's lost Remy because Remy is all caught up in a trap somewhere because of a meal. He's caught in
Don't
this
come
trap
after
that
Emil.
yeah, and I'm going to. So he's caught in this trap, and during this, he reflects upon the fact that he needs to come back and help. He needs to finish what he started, and so Linguini feels bad because he feels like he has betrayed Remy, and he hasn't stood up for him and admitted the genius that he is, and so he has that moment where he admits it to everyone, says, "Here's." Usually someone else outs the lie, right? Usually in a movie like this, it's a rom-com where the guy's pretending to be something he's not, and he keeps going, I want to tell you something. She's like, oh, you can tell me later. You can tell me later. And then somebody else tells her, and she's like, how come you didn't tell me? He's like, I tried. And she's like, that's not good enough. I'll see you in the third act when you have to win me back. So in this one, Remy comes in and he's going to be seen. And so then Linguini decides to be the man and say, look, he's the guy. I tried to tell you this before, but it was Remy's fault, actually. He wasn't able to tell Colette. I tried to tell you this before, but he's the guy. And so who's with me? And then everyone leaves. Did you expect that the first time you saw that? I'm not sure I expected them to just walk out.
I never expected people to buy into a rat being a chef. So, yeah, I did expect them to walk out.
Okay. So they all walk out, including the waiter who when he says later on, you're going to need a waiter or somebody to wait tables, I had forgotten that the waiter was in the kitchen at the time that this happened. So I just assumed the waiter was still out there. But why is there only one?
Yeah,
I don't know. I think that was a little bit weird. But anyway, so the entire kitchen, including Colette, clears out. They all go away. But then here comes the rat family to help. That was a silly scene. I mean, in a silly movie, that was a silly scene.
I love when they go through the dishwasher to clean
That's what I was going to
hands.
say. The part with the dishwasher to wash, he's like, you got to clean your hands. Then he's like, I got the perfect idea. Let's throw you in here like this. Yeah. But they're all, and they break out into the A team, the B team, the C team, and it's like D squad, go get that health inspector, and you guys, we gotta wash you up and all that. It's really, but again, from an animation standpoint, they do a fairly good job of like animating a bunch of rats. That had to be quite a challenge, for like different colors and all over the place, and the tails and all that kind of stuff. So
there's that big guy.
Yeah. But yeah, them marching into the hand washer and shifts is definitely funny. You wanted to say something about the big guy.
No, it just plays into the narrative that they're rats from New York that somehow have made their way to France, because the father kind of has a New York accent, and then this guy, this big rat, acts similar to like a mob boss, or like, you know what I mean? I think he's a big bully, and he's also got a heavy accent.
Well, he's kind of the muscle, right?
Yeah, but what's his tag? What's the significance of his tag? I'm so curious.
Well, okay, so interestingly enough, that tag that he has in his ear is supposed to be like he was tested on.
That's why he's so big.
Right, exactly. He was a lab rat. And two things about him is, one is that I think Brad Bird worked on Pinky and the Brain for Animaniacs and that. So like that would have been a lab rat sort of a situation. The other is that his tag actually says A113 on it, which of course is the that Caltech room that all of these animators kind of came up in. There's also a similar situation as far as like an Easter egg, where this one is in 2007. Up comes out in 2009, but we see the shadow of Doug. Did that jump out at you when you were watching it?
No.
It's when he's coming up in the. Let me see if I can pull
Wait,
it up here.
what's his name who voices Emil? I'm pretty sure he voices someone in Up. Maybe it's Doug. And that's probably why.
I don't.
What's his name? What's the actor's name?
Peter Sohn, Sohn.
Yeah, okay. Peter
Yeah.
Sohn. Up.
Yeah. So here's the shadow of what is definitely Doug, right? I mean, that there's kind of no doubt that that's who that is. But again, Pixar is known for hiding the next movie and the current movie. But I wonder if that was supposed to be the next movie, but Wall-E was the next movie. So just a thought there. But anyway, those are a couple little things like the A113 and the Shadow of Doug, and then there's that. So anyway, they pull this off. They make it. They go and they cook, and they're gonna make a dish. And Colette comes back, and she's like, "What do you want to make?" And he's like, "I want to make ratatouille." And then she's like, "But it's a peasant's dish." Okay, like I don't think before this movie I had any concept of what ratatouille was, and it's ironic that the rat picks ratatouille, isn't it?
So ironic.
Who saw that coming? That's the name of the movie. Did he know that when he decided to make this? I don't know. And so he makes it. When he makes it, it's like, okay, that looks pretty good. I could see that happening. And then of course do the very culinary stack it up and bring it back to the table and sauce it, and it's just all plated fancy and whatnot. And they take it out to him, and it takes him back to his childhood. Like Remy had a sixth sense that this was going to happen. Takes him back to his childhood, and he's just in love with it, and he scarfs it all down and wants to meet the chef. They could have easily at this point said, it's Colette, or Linguini made this for you, or it's the sous chef, or whatever, but they didn't, and they decided to go, well, it's a rat. We're going to go ahead and show him to you, but you got to wait until the restaurant closes. Weird call, but then again,
the end was getting a little weird.
Kind of fell apart a little bit there, didn't it? I feel like.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, I don't hate it, but I feel like it could have ended better. It ended okay. But to your point, after he reached, after this point, kind of Remy narrates from here to the end, and so in doing so, he talks about how Anton responded and asking questions and all these other things, and then gets up and leaves, and then he writes this review, and they read the review, and it's great, but then of course the place gets shut down because of the rat infestation, because they had to let Skinner and the other guy go. It could have been a very dark movie if they never let him go, or they found a way to put him on a boat somewhere, right? I don't know. Maybe they just disappear. Maybe they fall off a truck. Who knows? I mean, these are New York rats, right?
They are.
Yeah. But he makes this speech at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And would you tell me what you thought of the speech?
I thought it was really powerful and really touching, and it talks about how, when people come in, they're often not treated well, or we pass judgment a lot. And you see that judgment happen a lot throughout the movie. There was this family dynamic between Remy and Remy's father. The father, it's his way or the highway, and everything Remy does, he's not supportive of anything Remy does. And Colette kind of has this really bad pessimistic attitude for a while. So I think this review and this speech kind of ties all of those subplots together in a way where it's like, okay, we should all be better people.
Here's what I thought about immediately, because you and I do another show, the Park Adventures Club, on Sunday nights, and in that, a lot of times we will criticize.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
decisions that Disney made, decisions that other people make. And in this quote, he says, in many ways, the work of a critic is easy. We risk very little, yet enjoy a position over those who offer up their work and their selves to our judgment. We thrive
Yeah.
on negative criticism. We thrive
I
on
didn't feel
negative
good.
criticism. You're like, didn't feel good, which is fun to write and to read. I mean, again, I like to think positively. I really do. I like to think, we're talking about fun, nice things when we talk about Disney Plus movies, or we're talking about the Disney parks or the Universal parks. We're talking about fun things. We can have opinions on it, though, because they touch us in such a way that we're very passionate and driven by it. And so we react a lot more critically than the average park goer would, or the average movie watcher would. I think we look at things with a much more critical eye because we're passionate, not because we're angry or hateful or want to be negative, but because we're passionate about it. When we see something we like, we say that we like it and why, and get excited about it. And we see something we don't like, we say that too, and say we wish it was better or we wish it was different. So I think we're not really critics as much as we're fans in that retrospect. But I do think that's interesting. We thrive on negative criticism, which is fun to write and to read. And I'm like,
ouch.
Yeah, exactly. So
I take
again,
it as ouch.
No, I'm not coming at you. I'm not coming at you. You need to stay the way you are, and you need to bring it when we're talking about stuff like that. I like it when you get rammy about
Always
something.
will.
I please do not stop. Do not change who you are. You are perfect. So
Never.
I just wanted to shout that out because I was like, interesting. So then again, they have to shut down the restaurant. But as Remy is narrating, he's talking about that he has a new restaurant, and it's called Le Ratatouille. Like, that's the name of the restaurant, which is weird to call a restaurant something having to do with a rat. But there was a famous restaurant on in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, near or on the NC State or UNC Chapel Hill campus. It was called the Ratskeller, and I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, but it's called Le Ratatouille. And it's a restaurant that apparently Ego got fired from the newspaper for his review because when everybody found out it was a rat that was cooking, but then he became a business owner in this other business. Well, if he famously got fired, won't people just know that rats are cooking in this restaurant? Like, isn't that a
One
tell?
would think.
Yeah, he got fired, but he started this new restaurant, and the cook is really good. Like, he's really good. I don't know. It seems a little bit of a problem, but then yeah, again, it's a regular people restaurant, but there's like a rat-sized restaurant above.
Yeah.
His entire family has now learned to not only eat well with good food, but also with good manners, sitting at tables, which is a very strong difference pull to me when that all happens. But yeah, it ends happily ever after. Really, I mean, I guess because Linguini and Colette are together, and Anton is living his best life and eating his favorite food, and Remy gets to do what he wants to do. I don't know the lifespan of a rat though. Like, is this a good investment for him to invest in a restaurant?
It's funny you say that because at some point in the movie, Remy says to Emile, like, "You're in my town now," and I'm like, "Sir, you've been there for a day or two, right?" Like, all of a sudden, but I feel like that's rat years. A day or two in the rat's life is probably like 5 years for a rat.
There you go. Yeah. So anyway, that's the end of the movie. Again, the movie, I feel like, again, 18 years old kind of throws me. And before we get to final thoughts on it, I want to talk about the effect it has had. There was a short that happened that was released on DVD that is also still available on Disney Plus. It's called Your Friend the Rat. If you want to check that out, that is a thing that you can watch on Disney Plus. It's a different kind of animation, but it is, again, it's a short, but it's listed at 13 minutes, and it came out on the DVD. And then the park stuff. So World of Color 1 the show at Disneyland, which you've seen, right?
I've not actually seen it.
Okay. Has this huge Ratatouille scene in it where they kind of talk about the flavors and everything. And so, I mean, I like that projection. The music, again, I think the music slaps from this. So I love hearing that. Da, 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 da. And then they made a sort of a mini land in Disneyland Paris uh,
Hmm.
of this with the attraction, the Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, and then Remy's restaurant is there too. Chez Remy is there,
Yeah,
and it's
seems so
it's not
cool.
it's not the people version. It's the one we see upstairs with
I
the rats, and so it's
know.
like you've been shrunk down to the size of a rat to eat. And to your point that you brought up earlier, when they built this at Epcot and opened it as I think it was in 2021 for the opening of
Yeah.
for the 50th anniversary, they opened this. They delayed it so they could have something open for the 50th anniversary, and it was like everybody but me got to do a preview of some sort because it was open for so long. But when they built that one, they did not, to your point earlier, build a Chez Remy. And
No, and I feel like
your thought is because of the theming?
I don't know. For a moment, I thought maybe they couldn't fit it in at the exit of the ride like they did with Disneyland Paris. Who knows? But I think the reason why we don't think of Ratatouille as being such an old movie is because that attraction took so long to be put, into a park.
Yeah.
I love that fountain.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. That whole area is very cool, and I do enjoy that attraction. I think a lot of people don't. What I love about that attraction is that it was added, and I think again we talked about that
Hmm. Hmm.
on the Park Adventurers Club last Sunday night. Was that like we're looking for things where you add to the park, you don't just swap, and they added this entire. They had an expansion pad for France, and for the longest time after they announced it, I was like, I don't understand how this works. Where you're going to put this, and you have to go around the side of the pavilion to get to the back where the expansion pad is, the way that they did it. So they built the show building on the expansion pad, which is really next to France, but to get to the ride you have to go around the front and in. I think it's a fun little attraction. I'm glad that it exists. I think it was a nice addition to that area. And like I said, I get so many vibes of the attraction when I'm watching this movie, between the music
Hmm.
and the scenery, and like you said, that kind of that run around the kitchen that Remy has earlier on. You just see all of those elements that you just saw in that attraction in
Yeah.
there. And so somebody looked at that and went, you know what, that would make a good ride. We should do that. That would be neat to do. And then, like I said, there's the projections that we see on World of Color 1, and then, like I said too, Remy is like the official unofficial ambassador of the Food and Wine Festival because he can cook. So then you've got the hide and squeak, where you go around and you do the
Yeah.
scavenger hunt and you find all the little statues of Remy, and then you've got Emile's fromage montage, Emile,
Yeah.
where you run around and you spend money and you buy all these different types of cheese things and get a Dole Whip or whatever. But there was one other thing that came up. It had nothing to do with Disney. Is the Ratatouille the musical? Do you remember when that was a thing?
No.
The TikTok
On
musical. You don't
Broadway?
remember? No, it was a
Oh,
TikTok musical.
I don't have TikTok.
We need to get you
I
out more,
know,
Shannon.
I know. No. This looks
Yes.
familiar.
Yeah, it was a thing. They actually made it so I feel like you could like pay per view it or buy it. I feel like we bought it so that my daughter could see it. I think at some point because it was such a big thing that it was going to happen. But um, I feel like I forget who all was involved with it, but yeah, it was a thing that happened. And yeah, I don't. It happened during the pandemic, I guess. So uh, Titus Burgess, Ashley Park, Wayne Brady, Adam Lambert. Uh,
Really?
yeah,
No, this does ring a bell.
yeah. So anyway, so that's the thing is it was a thing. Anyway, so thank you guys for watching tonight. Before we get to our final thought, I do want to tell you guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. It is called the Park Adventurers Club. We are doing a lot of new things over here. We have a new show on Sunday nights called the Park Adventurers Club, same name, where we talk about we'll hit some of the high notes of the weekend news, but also kind of have a meeting basically about an important Disney topic. Last week's topic that we just talked about was does Disney World need a fifth gate? And again, the question is not will they get one, it is do they need one? That was me and Shannon and Stephanie. We got together and we talked about that. You can check it out on this channel now. You can get to that by going to parkadventuresclub.com. We'll take you right to the page, and again, make sure to watch and like and subscribe, and we would love to have you here for that. If you want to help out the channel, though, we also have a Patreon, and I want to thank some of our Patreons for being with us, and I will have to pull that up in a second because I don't have that. So let's talk about first what's coming up on a look on the plus side. We did Moana 2. Tonight we're doing Ratatouille, and next week Ron Deanna will be coming back and talking about Pinocchio, because again, that's one that we had said we were going to do. I know Dawn was like, hey, you know what, we should still do that. Y'all get together and talk about it and let's make it happen. So we are making that happen.
Pinocchio scares me.
It should. But as I was mentioning, we have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/GoPack, PAC, the Park Adventurers Club. And I want to give a special thanks to Jungle Cruiser and Rosita, William, Monica, Vince, Jordan, and Sienna for being supporters of our channel. We appreciate you, and thank you guys so much. Go to patreon.com/GoPack for more information. We actually, at some levels, have a sticker and a button that you can get. We also, at all levels, have our Discord where we have a lot of fun conversations. So please check it out. We will be hoping to get this channel monetized soon and be able to take super chats and things during our shows. So hopefully that's in the not too distant future. But thank you for everyone who has come, who has found us, supports us, and we've got a lot of neat programming content on the way. Shannon's got some ideas. Stephanie's got some ideas. It's going to be a we channel, not just a me channel, but a we channel. We've got a lot of neat things that we're going to be doing for you. So please come back, check us out. And again, thank you guys who are members of our pack. We appreciate you. Now is the time. Now is the best time.
Now is the best time.
Yep, there you go.
To recommend a rat movie.
You're going to get us demonetized. No, I'm just kidding. So we've talked about the music, the animation, the cast, the story, the time period, the ridiculousness of a rat that can cook. But I need to know from you, the people need to know, Shannon, would you recommend this movie?
Yes, I would absolutely recommend this movie. Is it the best movie out there? No. Is Linguini an annoying character? Yes. But Remy, I feel like, really makes up for that. I think he's one of my favorite Disney characters. He's cute, he's lovable, he's smart, and he can cook. What more can you ask for? I'd give this probably a pretty solid 7 out of 10. Give it a watch.
Wow, you're giving it a number. Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I feel like this one is sort of one of those that everybody knows, but I think if you go back and watch it, you forget all of the things that you maybe might have missed. And again, it's 18 years old. It's crazy to me that it's been that long since this movie came out. So I would definitely recommend, if it's been a while since you've watched it, go back and watch it again, give it another watch. But I think this is one of those that feels more like a piece of art in the Pixar toolbox. I wouldn't say that about Cars. I wouldn't say that about The Good Dinosaur. But I feel like movies like Up and WALL-E and Ratatouille are kind of in a special zone or a place where they feel like they're works of art. And so for that reason, and also for the fact that it is associated with the parks, I would definitely recommend. I'm not even going to give it a number. Not even going to do it. You can go with her 7 out of 10, or you can just take my word for it and go watch it. But we would love to hear what you think. Please give us your comments below after this video is over. Again, please make sure to like, subscribe to this channel, hang out with us some more. We've got a lot of great content coming your way. We're really excited that you found us, that you're joining us, and we can't wait for the next thing. Shannon, thank you so much for taking a look on the plus side with me. I appreciate you. And anything else before we go?
Au revoir.
Oh, again, more French than we saw in that entire movie. So, whew. All right. Thank you guys. Have a great week, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Wait.
Now is the time. Now is the best time.
That's what I needed you to do. Thank you.